You saw the thumbnail, you know what's coming. Hello and welcome to the competitive wrap-up of February 2017. So we're going to be taking a look at the results from February from all over the world. Sadly, for American results, I know that there were some tournaments from the Vanguard circuit and the Dynasty Cup, but because the Facebook pages don't upload deck lists and I was a bit too, basically I delayed it too far to ask them personally, I won't be featuring that now, but I will make sure to take care of it for next time. But starting next month, we will start having the Bourrée World Championship qualifiers already as well, so we already have some interesting results coming up. But February has quite a lot of interesting results packed, and as always, we're going to be starting off with Japan. And first off, we have the Inaba VGCS. So, in first place of the Inaba VGCS, we have a not so interesting grade 170s list. So this was after the nerf, but it's before the Rummy Labyrinth booster. So this is essentially, it's still before Rummy Labyrinth, and it's quite interesting to see that it's got so many G units despite, well, it does have the 3 grade 3s, but it is what it is. But as we can see, even after the nerf, the deck didn't really die down, and the new support does help it out a little bit. So in the end, the deck isn't dying, but it's definitely gotten, less consistent than before because of Night Runner nerf. But you can still see that it is still topping. Next, however, we have a quite interesting Luard list in second place. So this is essentially what Japan is starting to change into, which, if you haven't noticed already, is 8 10k vanillas. And not necessarily just 8, but there's just a lot of 10k vanillas coming in to Luard lists, and basically any deck that needs some form of survivability until later on will be running 10k vanillas. I'll be making a separate video explaining why Japan plays 10k vanillas and why they're taking out crucial grade 2s for that. In this list we can see that Morpheus is still in there, but that's like the only, skill grade 2 that they have. Everything else is, 10k vanillas, but it's a very interesting list, and it shows that, the metagame in Japan is super rapid, and it changes so fast, and they have to adapt to it as soon as possible, so these 10k vanillas are the way to adapt to the current metagame. So, very interesting Luard list. We have one more interesting list from the Inaba VGCS, which is this Amon list. So this was in top 8, so it didn't, it wasn't top 4 or third place, but it was just in the top 8. So this is like the first time we see Amon in a long time. And so it's overall very cool to see. So it's not Blade Wings for once, and it is Amon, and definitely huge props to this player for making it that far. Next up, we have a VGCS that I'm very excited to talk about, which is the Mainohama VGCS. So in first place, we have this Chaos Breaker list. So quite interesting. It has the only 2 Chaos Breakers, so I'm not sure if I can really call it a Chaos. It's kind of just like, it's got quite a lot of the Messiah engine in there, but also quite a few Stargazers, so it's very much just a hybrid build. But it does have 2 of the Medusa, so that's, obviously for the Freeze Ray. But overall, it's quite an interesting list, and it's nice that Link Joker can still top quite consistently despite not having support for quite a while now. So definitely huge props to that. But in second place is a deck that I'm super excited to talk about, which is Dimensional Robos. So this is the Dimensional Robo list that came second in Mainohama VGCS. Let's just take a look at it, because this build, I've been testing it myself and it's running super smooth. There are a couple of changes I would make, but overall it's super cool and very strong, and I'm super happy to see this. So let's go over it. So we have the 4 Daikaiser Leons, which is, perfect because you do need the 4 of them. The 4 Daimaxes, some people would say that 2 is enough, but I think 4 is definitely better if you can afford them. And then the 4 Di-Earths, that's where I would kind of deviate from. I'd play only 2, but I also tried out 4, but I just didn't find myself using the second pair that much. And then we have the 4 G-Guards, 1 Geo5, 1 Excalibur, 1 Patriot, and the 1 Aglium. So there's no Dismals here, which is also interesting. I did try without Dismal, just like in this build, but in the end, in my own build, I do want to have it in there just for comfort. But going over the main deck, I will go in depth on this because it is my main, D-Robos are my main deck, which I think I've made pretty obvious over time. He does run the very standard grade 3 lineup of 4 normal Daikaisers, 4 great Daikaisers, the Legion one, and 2 great Dayushas. And then the grade 2 lineup is again adapting to what I mentioned earlier, so there's 4 10k vanillas, and I also tested this, and it does, even though I don't play in the Japanese metagame, it did work out, but I think it's not very, like, it's not a good net decking deck in terms of like global standards, because not everywhere you have the same meta as Japan, so in some cases I would put Diressen or Dilesen instead. But overall, we have the 4 die bazookas, which is quite important. Also, the 2 die jets, I feel you should have at least 3. It's still such a crucial card, especially when you don't play Stride Fodders. It's basically your Stride Fodder recycler, and you know, keeps putting back grade 3s for, you know, for just Die Kaiser to do his thing, so it's very, very nice. Next is 4 Laurels. This is, I tend to play 3, but I bumped it up to 4 after trying out this list because I can see why. Because Laurel is obviously very important for this deck, and there are a lot of ways for Laurel to get, you know, just removed, so now you want to have those extra copies just to have it in there. 4 of the D-Robo Perfect Guards, that's also very understandable, because, you know, you want the D-Robos in the soul for True Die Kaiser. Only 3 Yukas, I would play 4, and then the two cards that are blurred out is this Zeal card, so I'm basically just going to pop it up on the screen now. So it's a very nice card. I kind of thought about it briefly when it was revealed, but I was like, oh, that's too much of a meme. But then, you know, I tried it out when I was trying out this list, and I was like, damn, it puts in a lot of work. Because when you use Die Hawk, you're not going to be using your soul for much else, so just because of that, this card is, well, I think it's called Wilking. It's such a good card for that, so you just kind of get rid of your soul that you won't need, and then, you know, obviously you still need to keep the specific soul for True Die Kaiser, but there will be an abundance if you use Die Hawk. But I think even at 1 copy, it's a good card, and, you know, overall very, very nice card. Trigger lineup is pretty standard, I feel. The 4 draws, I was kind of questioning, but then I tried it myself and I was like, okay, with Die Hawk you do want the draws, and if you play Aglium it's kind of okay. So overall, this list is super cool, super big congratulations. Like, for me, this is so nice to look at and talk about, and I know I'm using up a lot of your time talking about it, but to me this is, we haven't seen Dimensional Robo's top in such a long time, so to me this is like an achievement for the world, and it's just such an amazing thing to see, so huge congratulations. And then finally, a bit anticlimactic, but in 3rd place we have grade 1 7Cs of the main Inaba VGCS. So it's a bit, you know, it's a bit sad. There's also no G-Zone from what I can see. So, well, or there might have been, but I lost the picture. But yeah, somehow the picture didn't make the final cut. So yeah, but the highlight of this VGCS is definitely the D-Robo list. So let's move along. Next we have a pair of VGCSs, or well, just Japanese tournaments that I only got the 1st place results of. First one of which is the Shikoku VGCS, and there we can see this Nightrose list. So this is before the Remy Labyrinth support, so it's still the very standard Nightrose deck that we're used to. So with the 8 crits, 4 stands, there's 2 of the grade 1 ghosties. I've seen most people play 1, but it's like always like alternating between 1 and 2. 6 G-Guards, only 2 of the Nightrose Strides, and then the 4 Gouache, which is always super important. 4 Cannoneers and 4 of the Negro Lazy, so definitely quite interesting, but it is a very standard list, but we're going to see quite a few changes in it during the next month's competitive wrap-up. And the final Japanese result we have is the 1st place of the Yashiro Cup, and it is this Victor list. So Victor is also topping after the GBT10 support, so let's take a look at this one as well, because it is a deck that I play quite a lot. So grade 3s are essentially the same as what I kind of propose, but also the starter. Grade 2s, this person does play the cool Hank. I'm a bit iffy on that. And then there's the one new grade 1 in there as well next to the Stride Fodder that I did test, but I didn't find it as amazing, but you know, that's kind of okay. There's the 2 Claydol mechanics. I would personally, especially with the upcoming G-Guard and, well, the G-Guard and GPT-10, I wouldn't bother with Claydol mechanics. I feel like it's just, it's not as important anymore. This person does play 6 draws, and it does make sense because of favorite champ Victor. And you know, other than that, there's the 7 crits. Oh, sorry, 6 crits, my bad. And then, you know, only 3 G-Guards. It's kind of interesting that they only play 3, but I guess it's to play, well, he does play the Bustard, which I heavily disagree with. I really don't like Bustard anymore. I think it's overall a underwhelming card and eats up a bit too much Counterblast for my own liking, and just doesn't do as much as I wish it did. So there's that. But, you know, only 1 favorite champ, I think that's perfectly fine. I think 2 is the best number, but 1 works, because usually when you go into him, you win. So, like, I just play the second one as a safety net, but overall you definitely don't really need the second one. It's just there as a safety net, as I said. So, very cool to see Victor winning after the GBT10 support, so let's move along from the Japanese results. Next up we have the results from Malaysia, and we have the one and only SenpaiNoticeMe VGCS, which I did have the pleasure of commentating, so if you haven't already, do check out on my channel. I have commentated both the top 4 fights, the 3rd place playoffs, and the finals. So this is the winning deck list, so it is timely, but we do have the GR from Tri3 next in there, so this is something that doesn't happen too much, and I'm sorry for the picture quality not being too amazing, but overall the timely list is fairly standard. So this is the more standardized list, as I said, so there's a lot of grade 1 techs we can say, but there's only one upstream as well. Only 2 10k vanillas. I've seen most people go either 4 or none, but you know, that's interesting. Like 2 Calibums are still there, and you know, surprisingly I believe he did hit most of his Calibums in the early game. So quite interesting list. 1 delayed blazer. I usually expect when people have less upstreams, they play more delayed blazers, but this player decides to just go 1-1. And there's also the well, obviously just the one Urotar, but he's not playing the Zodiac Time Beast heals, so that's quite interesting to see, because he does play the Zodiac Time Beast, well, the 1 crit and the 3 draws. So it's quite interesting to see this kind of change, but you know, overall the list does make sense, so there is that. And this is the 2nd place timely list, so we do see some differences. So there's a GG that we saw in the finals that I commentated, the Fate Rider, the Kronos command, both of the Kronos commands, so definitely a much more different timely list. So this is something that I wouldn't, you know, don't see as much of. And there's only 1 delayed blazer again, 2 Calibums, and then there's no 10k vanillas this time around. So you can see that it's a bit more, you know, a bit more of a globally standardized list rather than, you know, Japan meta standardized. But we also see a lot more Zodiac Time Beast. Well, there's more Zodiac Time Beast triggers, but the draw triggers are the old, well, just the Lucky Pot ones, so that is quite interesting. But moving on to 3rd place is once again a deck that I want to talk about, which is Dimensional Robos. So this took place before, well, this took place after the main Ohama one, so it was, you know, influenced, which is why we see the Wilking there. So it's at a 1 copy. I think 1 copy is fine. Looking at the grade 1s, I don't agree with the Perfect Shields. I think it eats up, you're eating up a bit too much soul, you know, just to do stuff, and it's, I don't know, it's a bit too much for me. I would still play the Dimensional Robo Perfect Shield. I think I prefer consistency over these, you know, cool skills that they do have, but that's just, you know, how I see it. And then for triggers, he went with 5 draw, 1 stand, so kind of interesting. It's the 2 Enigma draws. They're kind of like, I understand, but I think you either go 4 draw or, you know, you can go 4 stand. That's what I used to test, but then I realized it wasn't as amazing. Looking at the grade 3s, he plays one of the old grade Kaisers. That's okay. That might be just, you know, kind of a fun tech, but I wouldn't play it myself. Only 2 of the 10k vanillas, so as you can see, he doesn't go 4 because he does, well, he plays the 3 Dijets, which I agree with, and the 2 Diresons. I believe it's going to be Direson in English. That I also agree with. So I think this list is a bit more, in terms of grade 2s, it's very nice, and like the grade 2s I do agree with quite a lot. There's just a couple of changes I would make in the grade 1s and grade 3s, and also the triggers. And then the G zone is where I'm a bit because X Tiger I agree with, 2 Dimax is understandable, 2 Di-Earth is understandable, but the 3 X Gallops is like, I'm not too happy with that. Somehow I think I would personally play another G-Guard and the 2 more Dimaxes, but there might be just a case that I didn't have them. But I personally think that it's better to just, I wouldn't play just 2 Dimaxes. I know people have arguments for, you know, it's fine to just play 2. Obviously, you know, economy is one of them, but it's a pretty interesting list. But I think I prefer the main Ohama list more. But, you know, congrats to Stephen Lowe for making it this far with Dimensional Robos. I'm definitely super proud. And finally, in the 4th place, we have this Victor list. So this is a bit of a Richard Doan influence, I would say. So he's got the Starlight Hedgehogs and the Cool Hank, so that's quite a big difference from my grade 2 lineup. No Sazandas, quite interestingly. And then the grade 1s are quite standard. Again, they're playing the new grade 1 that I don't play, but I think I might have to go back and test it a bit more intensively before I do my final deck profile just to see. But we can see he plays the 6 draws as well, so 6 draws seem to be a very standard thing for Victor, because, you know, you need a lot of hand for the favorite champ Victor, which he does play. And he doesn't play the Bustard, which I agree with. Overall, this G-Zone is like almost perfect, I would say. It's a very well built G-Zone. Overall, like the deck build is very good. I'm still not, even after Richard Doan's achievements, I'm not too sold on the Starlight Hedgehog, so there is that. But overall, this build is very interesting, and big congratulations as well for making it this far. Finally, let's go over to my continent, Europe, and my neighboring country, France, for their French circuit. So this has been a circuit that's been running for, well, pretty much 3 years now, but it always happens in the first half of the year when we don't really have many tournaments going on from Bouchot themselves. So last year it was a 2v2 tournament, and I also participated myself. This year I didn't participate, but we do have some results to go over. First off, we have the French circuit, Paris. So in first place we have Haouès, who came first with this blue wave deck. So blue waves and Aqua Force in general don't really top much in, well, just in Japan and in the, you know, in East overall. But, you know, it's quite interesting to see this list. It's like, there's quite a lot to talk about just because it's something that, you know, you don't really see much globally, but very big congrats for actually making this far. So it's quite nice to see this. You know, there's no Thavas, even though, well, there is a Thavas Stride, but, you know, overall it is focused on blue waves, so it's very interesting to see. Second place we have Julien, who came second with Thavas, so speak of the devil. So this has quite a lot of cards from, you know, older expansions that, you know, I thought kind of got phased out, and it's also very much max rarity, so that's something to adore. But overall the deck does seem pretty solid. Runs a total of 5 draws, which, you know, I expect to stay at 4, but, you know, that's fine as well. But and only 6 grade 3s, so that's something that normally, like, in Europe it's like fairly acceptable, but in America you'd get pretty much slaughtered for that. But, you know, very interesting deck list, and very nice to see once again Aqua Force topping. In third place we have Hélène, who topped with none other than Kagero. So this is her Overlord build that, you know, she's pretty much very famous for, so it's very nice to see. There's some interesting grade 1 choices that I see, but I'm not sure how much I can comment on those because I just haven't, like, I haven't seen much Kagero being played lately, and I don't play it myself, so there's, like, my commentary can only go so far. But overall, big congratulations as well. And in fourth place is once again Aqua Force from François. So Paris is pretty much plagued with Aqua Force compared to the rest of the world. So they, from all over the world, they all just went to France in order to win the Paris French circuit. So very nice to see, and big congratulations once again. And again, it's 5 draws. So this 5 draws is quite interesting. But, you know, big congratulations once again, and I'm very happy to see all this Aqua Force topping in France. Next up we have the French circuit that took place, well, it's still French circuit, but it did take place in Switzerland. So in first place we have Martin, who came first with once again Aqua Force. So there's a lot of Aqua Force for you guys to be looking at for this month. So this time we can see the one Thavas in there. Sadly the quality is really bad in this picture, I'm sorry to say that, but, you know, you can kind of make out what each card is. But, you know, it's a bit sad that the quality is this bad, but, you know, it's nice to be seeing all these interesting Aqua Force lists. Also, I like the starter choice. I really like that starter choice. And also the perfect cards aren't the flipping ones, so they're just basic perfect cards. So I wonder what the meta is in Switzerland, but I don't really know, so I can't really say too much. But it is very interesting to see this as well. And in second place we have Gabriel, also from Switzerland, who came second with Bermuda Triangle Harmony. So this is the first Bermuda list that we have for quite a while. I think the last one we had was Prisms. So this time it's just pure Harmony, and it's very cool to see. You know, it's kind of all over the place, sadly, and also, like, the quality this time is better, and you can see the 4 different heals. That's kind of a nice little touch, but it's always like, these lists are so different from what I'm used to that there's not as much I can say, because, like, I've been, you know, seeing timely, that, like, I just, like, now I know what's different each time I see it. Well, this is just something completely new, so it's a bit harder to say something, you know, something fresh about them, I guess you could say. But yeah, big congratulations as well for coming second with Bermuda Triangle. And the final French circuit result, and the final result for this video as well, is from French circuit Moveaux, or Moveaux. Sadly, I don't have names of the players, so terribly sorry for that. I only got pictures from another friend. But in first place, we have a deck that I'm very excited to see, which is Chronofang Tiger. Boy, is this cool. So Chronofang is basically like my favorite Gear Chronicle deck. Like, if I was to play Gear Chronicle, it would be Chronofang. And you can see it's pretty max rarityed as well. So we can see the 4 of the, like, that double rare grade 2, I don't remember the name now, but it's Chronofang exclusive. Only 1 upstream, 4 history makers, which also makes sense. A couple of grade 1s that I'm not too familiar with. And then, you know, everything else is kind of standard time leap stuff, but it's, you know, even though it's standard time leap, it works well with Chronofang as well, so it's very cool to see this. It's also grade 0 that I'm not too familiar with. Or at least, you know, I've forgotten since the set breakdown. But it's very cool to see Chronofang topping, so for those of you that have been looking for a Chronofang list, I hope this does help out. In second place, once again, we do have Harmony, and this is quite the, well, quite a big rarity. We can see, I think, a Wedding SP and, you know, a alternate art SP of every single, at least every single card that has one available, I believe. So, including the Olivia, goddamn. So this is quite amazing to just look at, but overall I'm not too familiar with, well, Bermuda, because I just don't, it's actually one of my least favorite clans, unfortunately, but, you know, I'm sure there are some players that will benefit from having this available. In third place we have Luard, so this is more of a Luard Diablo. Sadly the quality is quite terrible, but, you know, this is the Luard Diablo deck, so this is basically the better Luard version right now. You either play the ones that we've been looking at so far, from the Japanese list, or you play something along these lines, because combining Luard with Diablo gives you the best of both worlds, because Luard gives you, you know, it's a good engine essentially, while Diablo gives you availability to, you know, not paying as much for strides and getting really good strides that give even better effects essentially. So overall, very nice list, and it's basically just what I would also play if I could afford Luard. And actually, I think in the, if you look at the like rightmost middle part, I think that's in the main. I'm not too sure, but it really looks like in the main, but I'm not exactly sure. But that is very, very cool. And the final list for this French circuit, we're gonna go out in style. It's once again Aqua Force. So, conclusion, Aqua Force is very popular and successful in France. So this might just become, you know, something that we're gonna have to get used to seeing. But overall, he has the I forgot the 9K grade 3. I think it was one of the Storm Riders, but it's the grade 3 one from BTO8. But I think it was Diamantes. But so there is that we're not used to seeing. So overall, quite interesting list. There's some grade 2s that I'm not too sure. So like I'm not too sure why they're there, but I would like to see this deck in action before I say anything. So definitely big congratulations, and that's gonna wrap it up for this last French circuit. So thank you very much for tuning in to this video. I hope that, you know, the wait was worth it for all these interesting lists, and, you know, I hope that my talking about DP for probably half of the video was okay as well. But, you know, if that keeps on happening, then, you know, I'm going to try to keep it on the lower and just focus on things that are different. But overall, I'm super happy with this month, because seeing DP top is like a dream come true. It's just so nice to see, because it's been such a long time, and especially for pure dimensional robos. So there are reasons why dimensional robos are the best DP deck, but I might make a separate video talking about that. But overall, it's a nice wrap up. There's not that much time leap, not too much Grand Blue as well. Obviously, it is still there. It's still the strongest deck in the game, but, you know, it's nice to see some Victor and some DP and, you know, a lot of Aqua Force here in Europe. But overall, I think it was a pretty nice switch up of results, and I hope this does benefit you guys as well. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.